Hello everyone, welcome to Haileybury One Talks with Thought Leaders by Haileybury Bhaluka, Bangladesh's premier and only international boarding school. In this episode, we explored the profound leadership lessons that can be drawn from both work and life experiences. I am your host, Jinia Kobi Suchona. We are honored to have Mr. Simon O'Grady, the headmaster of Haileybury Bhaluka. Mr. Simon is an alumni of London School of Economics and has more than 2 decades of international education leadership experience. Welcome, Simon. And we are honored to have Ms. Mantasha, the head of WICCI and other notable associations. While she is one of the most renowned women entrepreneurs in Bangladesh, this year she also was appointed president of the most prestigious SAARC Business Council. Welcome, Mantasha. Before we explore the fascinating tales of our distinguished guest, let me explain the connection between Haileybury One and Haileybury Bhaluka. Haileybury Bhaluka, affiliated to the world-famous Haileybury College in UK, is dedicated to nurturing young minds and developing tomorrow's leaders. It stands as an inspiration of educational excellence in the heart of Bangladesh, imparting academic knowledge and core values that mold young people into responsible and compassionate leaders of society. Haileybury carries with it a rich legacy that stretches back to the 19th century, synonymous with academic excellence and the cultivation of leadership. Over the years, this tradition has spread to the 4 corners of the world. We invite to join us on Haileybury One, where you will meet visionaries, thought leaders and change makers. Let's start with you, Simon. In your opinion, what are the most significant challenges facing education today, and how can institutions like Haileybury address them?
There are key educational challenges globally, but there are also significant transformative solutions. I think there are 3 big challenges. First of all, we need to fix the disparities that exist in education globally, the disparities between East and West, North and South. So that's the first big challenge. Secondly, we need to build local teacher supply around the world to the level of the best internationally. And indeed, thirdly, we need to reform educational practice, revolutionize education using technology and indeed particularly AI. Now, you'll be pleased to know that Haileybury Bhaluka is playing its part already in seeking to change the educational landscape in Bangladesh. We are supporting the professional learning of 10 schools to make sure that the teaching quality of those schools, ordinary schools in Bangladesh, is of a standard that will change the lives of the students that they're privileged to teach.
What do you enjoy the most about your job as the headmaster of Haileybury Bhaluka?
Well, you know, there are many things to enjoy, but the most profound feeling is that thought that we are building an educational institution that is going to have a significant difference in Bangladesh. It is going to change the landscape of the country, and indeed it is going to change the lives of thousands of students. That gives me the greatest joy every day.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mantasha, you have been at the forefront of various organizations. Could you reflect on a specific moment in your professional journey where leadership played a key role and what lessons you achieved?
I'm really honored to be sitting here with Mr. Simon, who is a renowned educationist, and they're doing a groundbreaking boarding school in Bangladesh. So I think that's a fantastic initiative, and thank you for taking the courage of introducing something like this in Bangladesh. So leadership is, leadership is required in every step of life, whether you're managing the house or you're managing your children or at workplace, leadership is very important. So, but leadership is something that also comes with experience. And sometimes you don't know that you're being a leader, but you're also leading at the same time. So that has happened to me quite a few times when I was, in a group, maybe talking to my friends and then deciding to do something, and I take the lead without knowing that I'm taking the lead and people are following me. So that is also a kind of leadership. As for in Bangladesh, initially when I started my journey, like my business, my family business, the leadership there was a little different. I was made the leader because it was my mother's business. So she said that I should be the successor and manage the business. But at that time, our workers, who were mostly males, first of all, for them, my mother was an auntie-like figure, so she was not really a boss, but more like an auntie. So for them, having a female boss at that time was not very acceptable. I'm talking about 2010. So I asked them whether they want to see their daughters in a leadership position, or do they just want to marry them off and, have children, and, then that's the end of the story. So most of them responded that yes, they do want their girls to go to school and graduate, have a good job, and maybe become leaders one day. So then I told them that if you want your daughters to be leader, then you have to make space for me to be a leader as well, so that, your daughter can also enjoy this space.
Mantasha, leading multiple associations requires a strong vision. How do you maintain actually unity among your team members?
Well, strong vision in the sense that for a leader, I think the leader not just leads the way, but also has a lot of responsibilities. So once you become a leader, you make certain sacrifices for your members, and you show them how to do things for others. So some of my members are also here today, and you can ask them later. In every single meeting that we have, I always tell them that even if you're the smallest entrepreneur, you still have something to give. You don't have to be a rich person. You don't have to be a leader. You don't have to be a great personality to be able to help someone else or give someone else. Even the smallest entrepreneur, or let's say a housewife, she doesn't do anything, but she's giving so much to her children, right? So to be able to give is much more rewarding than to have to ask for something, for me at least. And I'm sure most people will share the same feeling once they start giving. So I think that is the basic philosophy that I follow, that to help others and to give something in my capacity to help others.
Thank you. And now, Simon, your LinkedIn profile mentions your involvement in community development projects. So could you tell us more about one of your most impactful projects?
Very pleased to share the different works that we're doing, but one in particular. We've established Be Safe. Be Safe is the Bangladesh Safeguarding Alliance for Educators. And the aim of Be Safe is to make sure that children feel safe at school, so that they can learn in a haven of peace, and indeed they can achieve in their educational environments. To do that, we need to make sure that every school has a common policy on safeguarding that is consistent with international standard. To do that, we need to make sure that we've got trained specialists in safeguarding, funded by Be Safe. And to do that, we need to make sure that the practices, progressive, modern practices, make sure that children feel and are safe at school. So this has just been launched. We're very pleased that the first event was staged at the British Council, where we had about 200 people, 200 school leaders present. We've since launched the organisation Be Safe. We're attracting funding from both NGOs and indeed leading corporates in Bangladesh. And indeed, our focus at the moment is building the infrastructure so that every school child in Bangladesh feels that they're safe at school. That's going to solve the problems of children not wanting to go to school because of unsafe practices whilst they're there. And it's moreover going to support better learning and achievement at school. Be Safe is Impact Now.
Okay. And can you share a significant turning points in your career journey that shaped your leadership approach?
Well, my career has been shaped by significant events. along the way in the different countries and continents that I've had the privilege to work in. Going back more than 10 years now, I was leading Egypt's best school, and the country was suddenly plunged into a wave of protest and indeed revolutionary activity. That meant that the school had to close, and indeed all the great learning that was happening, it was just unsafe to conduct the school. Now in that situation, it tests your leadership style, it tests your leadership resolve. But what it teaches you is that leadership is a collective thing. It's not an individual thing. And it's really important as confident, successful leaders that we build leadership in that way. And I like to put it under the phrase of having a team of rivals. People who've got different talents, people who've got different abilities, and you can draw on those people as required. So in the example of the Egypt Revolution, bearing in mind that there was no cash, there was no internet, and indeed the safety and security of children, teachers and parents was in jeopardy, we had to close the school. So what we did was we set up a school, a virtual school in the UK, before Google Classroom existed. We did a special creative partnership with a tech company in India, and indeed we made sure that all of our teachers and children were safe by, as necessary, making sure that they were in safe places. Our teachers were teaching online for a 6-week period, and our students' learning was not affected. Now that brought the community together in the most profound and significant way. The best day of my professional life was to see the school reopen and to see children come back through the school gates again. And that was a wonderful feeling.
Okay. And Mantasha, now, how do you supposed to manage all your official and professional works being a mother?
Well, you see, being a mother itself is quite rewarding. So, and every mother, it's not that we have to look after our children or we have to spend time with our children. You just want to, as mothers, you want to spend time with your children. You want to look after your children. You want to spend time with them. So for a working mother, actually, it becomes quite challenging. I mostly work from home, or my office is very close to my house. So for me, I enjoy that flexibility. But not all women have that flexibility, particularly women in the corporate world. They have to do sometimes 9-to-9 job. And by the time they come home, the children are either asleep because they have school the next morning, or, the mother herself is quite tired to be able to enjoy her time with her kids. So there are multiple solutions to that. For me, I would think that if corporate structures, they offer women the flexibility of working from home at least twice a week. I think because technology has advanced so much that you can do that.
Thank you. And well, our discussion will go on with our honorable guest, but it's time to take a break. Please don't go and stay with us. Welcome again. Haileybury One presents Talk with Thought Leaders. And we talked with you about your leadership, your experience and anything. And how do you motivate and inspire your staff to excel in their roles?
We are very meticulous in recruiting the best people. And indeed, we are very privileged to be able to select and recruit the best teachers in the world. With that in mind, we believe that everybody is capable of high performance, and that human achievement is based upon that premise. But we also coach people to succeed. We believe that everybody deserves a mentor and has the right to have that support to make sure that if they make errors of judgment along the way, we'll make sure that they succeed through continuous mentoring and continuous coaching. Thirdly, we treat people with dignity and respect. And as a result, you get high performance, you get loyalty, commitment, and you get people who enjoy teaching children.
Leadership often comes with its share of tough decisions. Can you recall a difficult decision you had to make as a headmaster and how it turned out?
I think we make tough decisions every day. The toughest of those decisions are those that affect people's lives. Going back a few years now, I decided that it was really important that the school's values should reflect, the principles that we share globally. Those key principles are to do with equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I decided that it was really important that those principles should be reflected in realities, and the school should be a sure reflection of the kind of qualities that we wanted to portray and the kind of values that we wanted our students to have. So I decided to recruit single parents as part of my staff profile, because that reflected the values of equity, diversity and inclusion. Having said that, there were challenges that we didn't plan for, there were obstacles that we didn't anticipate, and indeed we initially made mistakes. We were very quick to learn that single parents particularly face superhuman demands, and it's our job as a good progressive employer to understand what those demands are and needed to do our best to take those challenges away. That was impact.
Yeah, and we can also understand how single parents. And Mantasha, now I want to ask you, tell us about your SARC journey.
I was appointed the president of Bangladesh India Business Council in July 2020, which was, at that time COVID had just started and the lockdown was here in Bangladesh. So, and then slowly it was peaking, right? So, I formed the council within a month with 22 leading women of Bangladesh. And then we had to plan our activities, and we were thinking, how can we make the most use of our time virtually, because at that time physical movements was kind of restricted. So then we decided to host or organize the Asian Women Entrepreneur Summit, which was also done virtually, where we had the privilege of having the Honorable State Minister of Palestine, who's also a woman, Mai Al-Kaili. She's a very inspirational woman. She did so much for vaccinating the women and children of Palestine amidst, there's always war between Palestine and Israel, but yeah, she made sure that the health of women and the health of children are always safeguarded. So we also had her participation in the summit. She talked about her journey, and we also gave her a Lifetime Achievement Award from Wiki. And then we also had the honor of having Mrs. Sherry Blair as the keynote speaker. She joined virtually, and she gave a very nice she shared her experience as also a mentor, because she runs a mentorship program. It's an international mentorship program, very powerful mentorship program. And then we had our honorable speaker, Dr. Shirin Sharmin Chaudhary, as the chief guest. Then we had Dr. Dipu Moni, the education minister, also a female, as another speaker. Then a diplomat, Saida Muna Tasnim, who is our High Commissioner in London. She also participated. So it was a very, although it was virtual, but it was broadcasted in a way that it reached even women in rural areas. So they were inspired by these sort of women, because normally in our parts of the world, when you hear women entrepreneur, you think they're probably working on the side, sewing something or making a dress for their kids, or doing stuff like that. But the fact that women
can also be in leading roles. They can also do big businesses, or even if they're doing something small, that it can be properly structured, that it can be considered as part of the corporate world.
Mantasha, as you talked about the pandemic, I want to know the pandemic forced many business to adapt. Can you share more about your focus on digital transformation for CMSMEs during the period and the technology solutions your team is developing?
Yes, I think the pandemic and the digital infrastructure of Bangladesh, it happened, I cannot say right time because pandemic was not right, but the timing worked out well for our women entrepreneurs, because when pandemic hit Bangladesh, the lockdown hit Bangladesh, it was right before the Bengali New Year and Eid. And these are the two largest festivals for the fashion industry, and 60% of the inventory of the fashion entrepreneurs are targeted towards these two festivals only. So you can imagine that they were stuck with a very large inventory, and they had no way, because women in the rural area, or women in entrepreneurs in general, not just women in Bangladesh, we believe in going to a store, trying things out. That was the culture. So during pandemic, no one was visiting any showroom or going out. So they had to be forced to sell online or to go online. And that's when we introduced Deshi Bhalobashi. It's an online platform to promote the heritage products of Bangladesh made by our artisans and craftsmen and entrepreneurs. I believe that in Bangladesh is actually one of the, what should I say, most inspiring examples of turning challenges into opportunities during COVID, particularly by women entrepreneurs, because before COVID we had about 50,000 F-commerce sites, and by 2021 the number rose to 300,000, which is 6 times more, and they're mostly run by women. So, and of course we have to thank our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who actually built this infrastructure for us. Otherwise, during COVID, you can imagine what would have happened.
Thank you, Mantasha, and thank you, Simon. That was great and informative discussion with Mantasha and Simon, and that's all for today. Bye.